wait, so it wasn't Shohei Ohtani that brought you down? No, it was the casino's investigation.
That's correct.
Okay, but let's go to Shohei
That's
Ohtani's
correct.
interpreter first.
Yeah.
So you went. Tell us how you met the interpreter.
So I
His
was
name, by the way, is
Ippei
Ippei
Mizuhara,
Mizuhara. Yeah.
and I met him in 2021.
Hmm.
I had a relationship with a lot of athletes, and particularly a few Angels baseball players, which I play golf with and hang out with, and they bet with me, etc. And I went to their spring training games and went, hung out with a lot of them. And so in that relationship, you just meet more of them, right?
Mhm.
So I went to a Padres Angels game, and after it was in September, after the game, we went to their local hotel where the team was staying, and they had a private poker game. It wasn't a rake game; it was just for fun. And there was probably four players there, maybe three players. There was the first base coach and maybe eight of us regular Joes that were all just messing around, having pizza, and just the game was over. The guys
Mhm.
hanging out. A lot of them, like Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, they weren't there.
Mhm.
They were probably in their rooms or whatever. They don't gamble, or maybe they don't play poker, or maybe at least not on that night. So long story short, Ippei Mizuhara was there, and of course I knew who he was.
Oh, you did immediately.
I knew, yeah, because Shohei Ohtani is the biggest
Right.
athlete in the world.
Mhm. And
Even then, he was becoming.
right. And he
eh,
was with Shohei all the time because
He
he was his
was
translator. He's also supposedly best friend, right?
for sure. They were really close, and it was very obvious. So he was on his phone placing a sports bet, and a friend of mine who was
Soccer, right?
yeah, a friend of mine who was sitting there is I was playing poker, and he says, "Hey, Ipe, Matt does that,"
Mhm.
and they just started conversating and being friends, whatever, having pizza. And he goes, their conversation turned into him giving him an account. It was a really small account. It was 1,000 per game and an $8,000 credit line, which is very reasonable for a interpreter. So that's how the whole relationship started.
Mhm.
Well, that zoomed real quick into a private jet to where it was $40,000 in credit extension to $300,000 in credit to where I took it over because now we're talking these are big numbers, and when they're big numbers, I'm going to get involved. It's my operation.
And because he was paying all the time, right? He was
Well,
even when he was losing, he was paying you, so you knew that you could
I-
extend the
in
credit.
in truth, we extended to 40 right away, no
Mhm.
problem. And then when it went to 300, of course, I'm making this decision. I said I'll move him to 300, but I'm not giving him more than that until he pays.
Mhm.
So I moved him to 300,000, and then he wired the money right away.
Mm.
So then he asked for 500,000. So of course I did that. Then he lost to 500,000. We paid right away.
Mm.
So I'm like,
What was he betting on, by the way?
mostly soccer, 80%,
Oh,
a little bit NBA, a little NFL,
and
but
most-
almost all soccer, which
and
is very popular in Japan.
was he just a very bad bettor? That
Very,
was terrible.
yeah, really bad actually.
Uh-huh. He always bet on the wrong thing.
He bet too many bets, and he bet a lot of parlays, which is very difficult. You know what a parlay is?
I'm not.
So let me explain that. So a parlay is when you have to win multiple bets,
Uh-huh.
otherwise the bet loses, but it pays more.
Uh,
So you might bet, example, a three-team parlay. So you're betting, let's say, three soccer teams. All three games have to win. If it
wow.
wins, your $1,000 bet will pay roughly $6,000.
Mm. So it's the riskiest of bets, I guess.
Yeah, it pays the most, but
Yeah.
it's so hard to win. It's hard enough to win one game, let alone three or four.
Did you bet parlays?
A little bit, but not very much. I was more of a straight better.
Okay, so 500,000 he's asking you, and at this point are you wondering, like, how is it possible? Is this money is this guy making this amount of money as a translator?
The second
What's
wire I was, because now,
mm,
the first 300 grand, anyone could have 300 grand. He made $250,000 a year as an interpreter at the end. So, he could have saved it up, or maybe he has some family
right.
money. But now when you're sending 500,000 again, after losing 300, okay. So then he asked for 1 million in credit. I give it to him. And then he sends another wire for 500,000. And this is when I get the phone call, and my friend says, "Are you sitting down?" And I said, "Why?" He says, "This wire just came in. You got it." I'm okay, great. He says, "From Shohei Ohtani." I said, "Holy shit!" I mean, that was a wow moment for me.
And did you think for a second, is it actually Shohei who's gambling, or did
Well,
you
at that moment, I thought for sure it was Shohei Ohtani.
really?
I mean, because that's $1.3 million that's been paid.
Right.
I look at the account. He just asked me to bump him to $3 million.
Wow.
Okay, and I look at the account. He's already down 2 million.
Wow.
So I'm like, there's no way an interpreter can afford this, right? I mean, maybe he has some family money, but this is big money. And he never said, I never asked. And the reason I never asked is because I didn't want to know.
Mhm.
It's like, those moments in life where we've all had them where it's like, you want to know really badly, but you're kind of afraid of the answer.
Because if he had said yes, what would happen?
Nothing. It would have actually probably made me feel better because I would have known that,
He has money. He's good for it.
yeah, but at the same time, I did make sure there was no baseball wagers. That was all that mattered to me because that's
Because it
where
would be illegal, right? He
that
wouldn't
would
be
be a
able to
big problem.
bet
Yes.
on baseball.
Correct. And
That's-
then I would get I mean, they would come down hard on me,
Right.
even though I'm just the end result. It's like if there's some rigged games or integrity of the sport is involved, you're talking about the whole world's going to hate me,
Mhm.
including the government.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, I think most people know, but if people that don't live in the US probably don't know, Shohei Ohtani, the best baseball player ever to ever live, right? I mean,
I think he's the best athlete to ever move,
right,
period. Like, my opinion. Michael Jordan, and you're talking about Tiger Woods. I mean, this is like, this gentleman can do everything.
right.
And
And he's
he's
Japanese, he doesn't speak English very well, or
correct.
apparently doesn't says he doesn't speak English really well, which is why he has an interpreter with him at all times.
Right.
But at this point also, it was like he was his career was launching,
It was.
skyrocketing, right?
Big
Here,
time
big time.
globally. And
Yeah,
now, he's Godzilla, let's call it, of
right.
Japan and even US,
Yeah, he's like a god. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so you received this wire, you looked at the name, you was like, "Holy shit, it's actually Shohei who's placing these bets,
Right.
and this guy is just the front."
Yes, that's
And
my thought for sure. And so people ask me, well, why didn't you ask? I'm like, again, I didn't really want to know. And someone's paying you $500,000 every 2 weeks. I don't care if it's dogs betting. I mean, at the end of the day, I provided a service. My service was doing my job, and they seemed to be happy with whoever was on the other side of the fence here. There was, if you go look at all the text messages that were sent out by the government, by the way, all like 90 of them, the government put them out for the whole world to see. There was never any signs of like, oh my God, I'm gonna kill myself, or I can't believe, he would joke about it.
from Shohei, yeah.
Well,
I mean, from the interpreter,
from Ippei,
sorry.
yeah,
Yeah,
he would say,
yeah.
"Oh, I'm so bad at this. Hey, give me another 500,000."
I've read some of these text
Right?
messages. Yeah, I
You can tell, and then you'll look at the final text that I make to him, which is, "Hey, man, I get it. It was all a cover up."
Mhm.
And then he says, if you look at this text, I don't know if you saw it. He says, "Technically, I screwed up." It's like, what does that mean? Technically, it's like, to me, that's where the question mark is so big. I was the closest to this than anyone in the world other than those two gentlemen. They're the only two that know every truth really behind everything. I believe that Shohei Ohtani knew that he was helping his friend. I believe that strongly.
do you?
I do. I have no evidence other than the obvious, which is a text message that says, technically, how do you not see $16.2 million, 17 million is what he took from your bank account over almost a year and a half or 2 years? How do you not notice that? Number one. Number two, ESPN, has not been put out anywhere. ESPN reporter Tisha Thompson, who is the one who broke this
Mm.
at my home, which is why I had to go tell the government. So this is what most people don't know. I had to go tell the United States government that Shohei Ohtani's wire transfers were coming in. They had no idea
And how did she break it? How did she find out?
because I have a big mouth, because I use it as kind of a marketing ploy, as like, hey man, I have one of the biggest athletes in the world betting with me. And so it got back to her when I got raided, because the world loves to see you go down,
Mhm.
not in general, but most people, and they wanted my clients, other bookmakers. So someone was calling her and telling her.
This guy is a bookie for Shohei Ohtani,
Correct.
okay?
So
Or
the
is saying
government
that he is.
raided me in October. If you notice, it didn't come out about Shohei Ohtani until March. So that's 5 months. And for 5 months, I sat there. I didn't say a word. Well, really, technically about 3 months. So January is when ESPN, Tisha Thompson, showed up in my house, literally from Washington, D.C. And my lawyer sat with me, and we said, we'll listen to what you have to say, of course, because I was shitting my pants thinking she knew. And the first like 20 minutes of the interview of her telling us what sources have told her were not about Shohei Ohtani. I'm like, okay, this is great. It's about Vegas and Resorts World, no problem. And then she said, well, why don't you tell me about Shohei Ohtani betting and losing $4 million to you? Because she thought the number was 4 million. By the way, it was a lot more than that. And I was like, oh God, this is a disaster. So we decided not to confirm or deny anything with her. And we went right to the United States government and told them, because I had to, because it was going to come
It
out
was gonna come out, yeah.
on ESPN. So your first part of what you said is what everyone thought, is that Shohei Ohtani's name and this whole thing brought me down, but it
But
had
it
nothing
wasn't.
to do
It
with it.
was the investigation into Resorts World,
Correct.
correct? But okay, so first of all, you see this wire and it's Shohei Ohtani, and you are a very competitive person, I can tell. And at this point, you're like, "Holy shit, this is kind of awesome
Yeah, it
because I
was.
now have something a calling card for everybody else,
Right.
and I'm essentially the best bookie there is. Because if the best player in the world is betting
Mm.
with me,
It's a
then
lot of,
right,
clout,
right,
and I have a big ego. So
uh
I definitely was, somewhat bragging about it. Let's be real. And I was definitely, and I didn't anticipate this ever happening. I thought he would gamble with me, hopefully the rest of my life. I was a bookmaker,
yeah.
and
And he was bringing you a lot of money.
of course, and to be honest, he was terrible.
Yeah, so you were making a lot of money from him.
Yeah, there's no way that this account, the way it was betting, could ever win over
And
time.
so the whole time you were thinking for sure this money is coming from Shohei's account. For sure, Ippei is just the front for this,
Or maybe
or
partners.
they were partners
Yeah,
gambling
yeah.
together.
I definitely didn't think Ippei was stealing the money.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously that's easy to say now because we know that's probably what occurred. But at the time, that wasn't even a thought pattern in my mind at all. Because, how does, in my opinion, how does he not notice it? I still think that's the biggest question. Like, if I stole from you 5,000 or $5 million, if it happens in one day, you might not just be checking your account, but within 16, 18 months, you're going to check your bank
Mm.
account. That's the part that, I mean, I think Jeff Bezos would have noticed.
Yeah, and initially the interpreter Ippei said he came out and he said that he did everything with the knowledge of Shohei, and then he came out and said absolutely that I was lying.
Right.
It was just me. So you think he was pressured
Yes.
by Shohei to lie on his
I think by the Dodgers. I don't think by
by the
Shohei.
Dodgers? Yeah.
Because if you look at what happened, he had that 90-minute interview on the phone with Tisha Thompson. He was in Korea. And then the very next day,
Who's this? This is Ippei or
Ippei and Tisha, they had a 90-minute interview. 90 minutes is a long time. And he retracted this entire 90 minutes and said that what he said initially was Shohei is the one who actually sent the wire,
Mhm.
the very first wire. And she was asking him,
Mhm.
basically, she had the sources of, not only coming to my home, but people were telling her that Shohei was gambling with me. So he didn't even know. He caught her, she caught him off guard as well.
And he admitted. He said,
He,
"Yes, that's
yeah,
true.
he
He's
said,
gambling."
yes, he even sent the first wire.
Huh.
So to me, the fact that they redacted that whole statement and said that, oh, he was lying, he didn't,
Mhm.
that's not what he said. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to, like, it's not like still Shohei did nothing wrong. He helped his friend. He let him, if what I think happened is true, he lent him money. Big deal. What's wrong with that? He's not the one gambling. He can lend somebody money. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think because there's laws, there's a rule for MLB that they cannot wire money to an illegal entity, a legal bookmaker. I think they just said it's easier for him just to say that he never knew.
But are you saying, do you think that Shohei was the actual person gambling,
No,
partnering with this guy? He was just borrowing or lending money to his friend
that's my assumption.
to gamble. You
Yes,
think it was Ippei who had the gambling
I
problem, not
definitely think
Shohei,
that. I do. I don't
but
think
with the
Shohei.
knowledge of Shohei. Yeah.
I don't think Shohei ever gambled, and I'll tell you why. Number one, I went to a spring training game and Shohei was on the mound pitching, and bets were flying out on my website.
Mhm.
That was my first,
Oh, right.
feeling of okay. I
Right.
wanted to know, but I didn't want to ask.
Right.
And then the second thing is
Meaning he couldn't be doing two things at once. He
he's
couldn't be
talented, but that'd be wow.
betting.
But secondly, you gamble and you don't, like, a gambler is a gambler. Like,
Mhm.
they don't just start gambling at 30 years old, $40 million.
Mhm.
Like, you might bet $10, but he's never been a gambler.
Mhm.
Everyone around him will tell you that. So he's never gone to a casino. He's never been on a different sports book or with another bookie. There would be something like that would have came
Right.
out.
Right.
I've been gambling since I was 12 years old. So for me to have a story like this, that would make
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
But for him, no.
Yeah, these texts that came out between the two of you, between you and Ippei, are
Right.
really interesting. I mean, he is admitting, he says, "I'm so sorry. I need more money. I promise I'll pay you." Then it's,
Yeah.
"I need more. I promise I'll pay you back." And he keeps losing, losing, and he
Right.
keeps joking about it.
He
It's like
does. He
emojis of
laughs at
him
himself.
laughing and saying,
Yes.
"I'm a terrible gambler."
Gambler.
And you say, "Don't worry, buddy. I am too."
I do. Because I've lost millions of dollars too. I lost $13 million at Resorts World of
Mhm.
2023. So I understand. I was getting, actually, when he was losing, I had the worst run of my life because I've always kind of held my own a little bit. I've always lost gambling. Nobody wins over time, but I've negotiated great deals with my wife being a host, with what I would negotiate for the casinos. I would at least cut the edge down drastically to where maybe the casinos have an edge, but it's very minimal. He didn't have any of that. His was just dumping money. I mean, literally, it was like lighting on a fire. And he laughs about it and we joke about it.
Mm.
And he never shows disarray at all.
And so, was there a part of you at all that felt bad for this guy that thought, okay, I can't take more money from this dude because he's obviously running himself into a hole here?
Yeah, if you look at some of the texts, I stop him. He wanted more credit. I finally had to stop at $24 million, which is what he owes me to this day, because he kept asking for more credit. And I said, Ipe, we got to have some sort of like threshold here. Like, and I'll be honest with you, I gave him a lot of credit a lot of times because as a gambler, the one thing you want to do is be able to bet. You want to get down. There's nothing worse than being in Las Vegas or any casino and you're a junkie, I call it, because it's really what you are, and you want to bet and you have no more money. You might as well, you just want to be home. You don't want to be
Mm.
there. It's the worst place in the world.
Right.
I don't care if you have nice dinners or shows. You're gonna be at a show just thinking about the gambling.
Mm.
So I wanted to give him that opportunity to win some of the money back. I actually wanted him to win some of the money back because the number was so high. It was so absurd.
Right.
You know, the 1 week he won 4.4 million on my website, I was happy for him. Not because I had to pay him, because it went from 8 million down to 3.5
Mm.
million and it was more reasonable.
Mhm.
But then it went right back up. You know, so yeah, did I feel sorry for him? Of course, I feel terrible. He's in prison right now.
Mm.
He's a nice man, very kind, very honorable. He was trying to do everything he could. Yes, he committed fraud or whatever. I mean, he stole the money. That's what they're saying. I still question that, but I don't want to call Shohei Ohtani a liar either because I don't have a relationship with him and he seems like a very honorable guy. So
So he's in prison for fraud, not for gambling.
yeah,
You're
he's in prison for the stealing the
for the
money.
stealing the money.
Correct.
And you think he's just did that as a sort of a favor to his friend, as a favorism, like he was pressured to do that. You either take time in prison,
You know,
say that Shohei doesn't know anything about this,
I'll be
or
honest, I'm not sure because there's a part of me that thinks that he initially borrowed some of the money, like Shohei okayed a wire or two. This is just my assumption, by the way. I have no proof of any of this, but I'm pretty closer than most to this situation. Let's be real. I believe that he said, "Hey, I'm in trouble. I lost a little bit of money. You know, can I borrow some?"
Right.
Yeah, no problem. You're my translator. You're my best friend. Go ahead. And then he kept tapping into the kitty without maybe telling or asking.
right.
That's my opinion.